to all of my Facebook friends on a Monday. I think we all deserve a shout out on a Monday, don't you? I really do. So I never know who's going to tune in on this, but one request that I have is when you tune in, can you give me some hearts or some thumbs up just to let me know that you are here with me, because I can't always see you. And it always helps me to know that I'm talking to somebody versus just talking to myself. The other thing that is really helpful, thank you, so I'm already starting to see some thumbs or some hearts. That blesses me so much, so we can kind of have a conversation. The other thing is please join with me and let's have this be a conversation. So my big thought is that I am not any more special than anyone else on Facebook, for that matter. I am an outside processor, so that means I learn better, always have. This is why I got into trouble, I'm pretty sure, in grade school. When I would be learning someone, I would get so excited because I love to learn, but then I would always turn to my neighbor and blah, 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 and have to speak, because that's how it integrated inside of me. And that's not done yet. This is what I do on Facebook. So I wanted to tell you all, first of all, how many of you are outside processors that have to communicate in order for things to go deep inside? Tell me I'm not alone. Maybe I am. I don't think that I am. Anyway, so story. This weekend was an excellent weekend. I got invited to come over to a new friend's house with some other women, and just had a great time of fellowship. This would have been something in the past I would have completely shied away from. Mom guilt would have gotten in the way, but mostly my social anxiety would have gotten in the way. I would have come up with excuses. But on this given Saturday, I was really excited. Yeah, I was really excited to be able to go and to spend time getting to know some women a little bit more. And so we had some delicious guacamole. I know it's 11:30. I'm gonna make your mouth water already. And just some excellent Chinese food, conversation. And then we watched a movie. And the movie was called Gifted. Thumbs up if you've seen the movie Gifted. I hadn't seen it. Well, I'm not going to give away the whole movie, but there was one scene that just took my breath away. So the premise of the movie Gifted, and if you haven't seen it, you probably can go to your local Redbox or whatever you have and rent it. The premise is that there is a little girl who is taken in by her uncle. And the little girl turns out to be kind of a savant, especially in terms of math. She's a genius, right? And they're having to wrestle with what's the best course of action for this little girl. Do they let her be in normal, everyday, traditional school and allow her to develop socially and have typical child experiences? Or do they allow her brain to have all the input that it needs and be a part of a think tank with all of these adults? Anyway, it's really fascinating. But there's one part of the movie where the little girl who's basically orphaned, her mom has died, and has never met her biological father. There's a moment in the movie where the biological father comes into her story very briefly. He's never made any attempt to be a part of her life. And she's like 6.5 years old. And what she finds out is that he exists. And she feels the grief of, why didn't he want to be a part of my life? What is wrong with me? What is wrong is where she goes, and she's sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And the uncle ends up taking her somewhere. He doesn't tell her where. He doesn't tell her why. And they end up in this like hospital waiting room. And they're waiting and waiting, hours it seems, and no one knows why are they waiting, and the uncle doesn't tell her. And then all of a sudden he says, pay attention. and this family gets up and someone walks out. It's like a father, and he announces to this family that was waiting that a little child has been born, a little boy, and they all celebrate, right? And the uncle turns to the little girl and he says, what I want you to remember is on the day that you were born, this was your story. People were here and we celebrated and we cried because you had been born in the world, and that is your story. And then the little girl rejoices with the family. It's so beautiful. She runs to the family and she celebrates with them even though they don't know her. And then she says, can we wait for another? And so then they wait for another family to have another birth announcement, and she runs and she high fives and she's part of this celebration. And it's this beautiful scene. And I was reminded that there is implicit beauty in knowing and following a journey, and following the story, knowing the origin, speaking the truth of the origin. And so I wanted to share a story with you on this Monday. It's a hard story, so lean in, listen, give me a little grace maybe on this kind of dreary day. My story goes back, I have been birthed by my mom. I have given birth to two beautiful, lovely boys. But I think one of the hardest things that I have ever given birth to, believe it or not, was my business, my therapy business, starting my own business. So I want to take you back to the birthing process of what was going on. So this was in probably early 2015, late 2014. It began with the birthing pains of, I knew I had this restlessness. I had to do something. Can I get an amen from anyone who has ever had this restless feeling? The birthing pains of change is coming, but we don't know how. Well, that started to happen, and it showed itself through irritability, anger, restlessness, agitation. I felt like I was in a continual spin cycle, right? And I'm seeing amens. Good, I'm not by myself. And so I started having conversations with my husband and with the Lord, and God kept putting people in my life that kept saying, just give God one thread of your life. Just say yes to something. Give him something in your life and he will unravel it. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to say yes to? I don't know. And I was getting mad, like, quit telling me this. And it started to dawn on me, you guys, I am a traditional girl. I'm faith-based, but I grew up in the Lutheran church, and I in my adulthood I joined a Reformed church. We are a traditional church people. We don't speak in tongues. We don't traditionally always have visions. You guys, I started to be bombarded in my dreams. Bombarded. I would have the most vivid, beautiful dreams, as if I had made changes in my life and those changes had already come to fruition. And I would wake up in the morning literally so saddened by the fact that the dream had not come true, that it was still a dream. And so I started feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to step out and do something. But you guys, I was so scared. How many of you feel like you are in a traditional business because you need the stability of income, especially insurance? I felt chained to a traditional job. The job was good, but it wasn't my calling. I felt chained because I already had a husband who owned a small business and didn't carry insurance. And I already had a husband who had fallen and by the grace of God was given renewed strength. But I already had family medical emergencies. I had a baby who almost died in the NICU, where our insurance kept us out of bankruptcy. And I knew in my heart I needed to be chained. Has anybody ever felt chained to a job? I felt chained. And I thought to myself in my head, I will work a job with benefits for the rest of my life because it will keep my family safe. And it suddenly dawned on me, this is what I'm supposed to be giving up to God. The fear, not of finances, the fear of my family. I'm supposed to give that to God. I'm supposed to trust my family to God, that He will provide for us, that He cares about us more than what I ever could do to protect us, because I'm a protector. You should know this. I'm fiercely protective of those that I love. And so little by little, I stepped out in faith. I had conversations with people. I asked people, what do you think I'm crazy for starting this idea, for starting a business? Like, is this nonsense? Is this crazy? Speak truth into me. Be practical. I started talking to business people who were sound, who had started their own businesses. And then I met with people and I said, I can't do this alone. And if they say they won't come alongside with me, we're done. I'm not doing it. And God showed up little by little by little. He showed up in visions, in dreams. He showed up with conversations and prayer. He showed up in books and videos. He showed up everywhere, like loudly. He showed up. So every step of the way, I kept saying yes. And you guys, fear crept in. I was restless at night. Nights were horrible. Even though God was providing and was saying yes, 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 and showing Himself in ways I never imagined, nights were so horrid. I laid in bed and I tossed and I turned and I could not sleep and I had night sweats and I couldn't breathe. I had panic attacks and I would get up and I would tiptoe to the bathroom and I would shut the door so as not to awaken my husband, and I would just pray and I would sob and I would cry and I would wrestle. I was wrestling with Him. Do I trust you? Do I trust you? Are you a God who can be trusted? Well, fast forward, in August of 2015, we opened All Things New. We did not think that we would be busy for at least 6 months. And you guys, after month 1 and month 2, we were over our head busy. We were learning our software. We were learning our billing. All of this was happening at one time. And it was beautiful, and it was hard, and it was scary, and it was blessing. And then, you guys, I started getting really sick, because remember this, stress makes you sick. And I am a stress person. I carry stress, right? Because I'm protective. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I want to be the champion. And I was so stressed, and I became so sick. And going to work was so painful. And being a mom was just painful. And being a wife, forget about it. My poor husband. But I still needed to go to work. And I cried out to God because I thought He had betrayed me. I literally said to Him, what are you doing? I believed you. I said yes to you. Every step of the way, I said yes. And now I am so sick. I can barely function. What have you done? I was so angry. I felt like He had duped me. I couldn't even function. And I don't know, have you ever been on private insurance that costs an arm and a leg? And every test and procedure costs so much money. Every doctor visit, every prescription is pain on top of pain. Because now, here's what I felt. I felt betrayed by God. I felt completely left. And I felt completely scared. Because we were incurring so much medical debt that we started talking about having to take out other side jobs. And I wanted to scream. I did scream out loud to God, what have you done? What kind of awful joke is this? And you guys, He brought in another job into my life, one that my pride almost got in the way of my saying yes. He brought in an opportunity to heal and bring wholeness to my body. And from my broken place, I said, I will try because I have nothing to lose. And I was blown away as my body started to heal. But now what are we going to do financially? And he brought in, with the ability to heal, another job. And I started sharing the things that had healed my body and brought me back to a place of balance with other people. Because when you begin to heal, why would you not share with other people? And so I started to share. And you guys, I will continue to do so until there's no more breath in my body, because I am well and my family is cared for. And it suddenly dawned on me, God is a God of provision. God is such a good God of provision. And I needed to go back to that place of brokenness and see that He is a divine rescuer. So this day, I encourage you to ask yourself, let's look at your story of brokenness. And let's open our eyes to find the story of the rescuer, because it's not about your story of suffering. It's about the story of a God hearing you and providing for you. It may not be financially. It may not be physically. Maybe it's relationally. Maybe it's with a talent or a gift that has suddenly been discovered. But open your eyes to the story of the rescuer. I think He will amaze you and blow your socks off. Anyway, thank you for joining with me today. I'd love to hear, even in the comments, of some of the ways that you have identified the rescuer in your life. You can go as personal or as impersonal as feels comfortable for you, but it would honor me to be able to hear your story. How is God moving and rescuing you and blessing you? Anyway, have a great day, guys. Take care.